Auto Star, a brilliant win of the Totesport Cheltenham Gold Cup.
Relentless, remorseless, the answer is Denman. Auto Star makes history, long run moving past Auto Star and Denman.
And here's a new steeple-chasing star. It's Galopin-Deschamps, who gallops to glory in the Gold Cup.
A Gold Cup, I think, that will go down as a really very, very good one.
Away they go for the Boodles Cheltenham Gold Cup of 2024. Galopin-Deschamps rising just in front there. And a massive jump over the bar. And racing up the hill is Galopin-Deschamps. This is the champion, Galopin-Deschamps, coming up the Cheltenham Hill and backs up in the Gold Cup.
With the Gold Cup, you want to see brilliance. This was brilliance.
He will be back for more next year, and there's no sign that his ability is on the wane at all.
It's the race that anybody who's ever owned a jumper covets more than most. And this afternoon in the Boodles Cheltenham Gold Cup, we have the opportunity to see something rather special as the mighty Galopin-Deschamps bids to land a third chasing blue ribbons. For the last 2 years, he's come up this hill with gusto and a regular rider, Paul Townend, for owners Greg and Audrey Turley. Paul has had a rather up and down week, 2 winners already under his belt, but a fall from State Man at the final flight in Tuesday's Champion Hurdle, a real low. The opposition today, well, that comes from the likes of Gavin Cromwell's I Know the Way You're Thinking, who's been supplemented by owner JP McManus, and the King George hero Banbridge, representing Joseph O'Brien, who's also been amongst the winners here this week. It's setting up beautifully for a fitting crescendo to what's been a wonderful week.
Hello everybody, thank you Gary, welcome to the Racing TV studios for what's going to be a fabulous day of action from Cheltenham. The final day, it's been spectacular, surprising in some cases, and we're looking forward to a brilliant day today. Galopin-Deschamps in the Boodles Cheltenham Gold Cup at 4 o'clock this afternoon. But the supporting card is very good as well. Let's have a look at what you can enjoy throughout the rest of the day. 1:20 we get underway on ground described as good to soft. We start with the JCB Triumph Hurdle. That's over 2 miles and 179 yards. We've got the County Hurdle, fiercely competitive. Of course, Cargazzi for Paul Townend and Willie Mullins. They won it with Absurd last year. He's back as well. The 240, that's the Mayor's Chase, Dino Blue, Limerick Lace, Allegory Devassi, all ran in it last year, Limerick Lace winning it. They're all back. 320, very competitive, Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle Grade 1 over just shy of 3 miles. Then the big one at 4 o'clock, the Boodles Cheltenham Gold Cup over 3¼ miles. Same trip, of course, as ever for the Hunter's Chase at 4:40. And finally, the Martin Pipe Conditional Jockeys Handicap Hurdle over 2½ miles at 5:20. That's what you can enjoy this afternoon with us. We've got an awful lot for you in Mark Your Card as well. We've got absolutely everything covered. And as you watch us, why don't you go to the website as well, just to supplement your enjoyment today. There's an awful lot for you there. There are race cards, features, lots of tips. David Everson tipping today. He had a 25-to-1 winner on the website yesterday with Doddy the Great. Lydia Hislop's tipping as well. There's the results section, which contains all the Race IQ data also, and the Cheltenham microsite. Absolutely loads for you there to supplement your enjoyment of our coverage throughout the afternoon. Lots to enjoy. We have absolutely got everything covered. Let's go back to the track now and say hello to Niall Hannity and Adele Mulrennan.
Angus, thank you. Once again joined by Adele Mulrennan. We're just above the winner's enclosure, just after 4 o'clock today. Can he do it? Galopin-Deschamps' his third Gold Cup in the Blue Ribbon event. It's quiet here at the minute, but I cannot wait. You've got a star horse, you've got a King George winner, you've a couple of winners from the festival last year, the Real Whackers won at the festival. It's a fantastic Gold Cup. It's what you want to see. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it now, and I really do hope we get the race we've kind of all been looking forward to, because although this week has kind of been a little bit hit and miss, and I know it's wacky races at time. Yeah, very wacky, very emotional, but I'm just hope we see a really good performance from Galopin.
it's his race to lose, to be honest with you, Niall. Whether the ground is in his favour, we've not had that much, obviously, rain this week. A little bit of snow softened it up ever so slightly, but yeah, the reception he got over in Ireland, I think here today, I think it'll be absolutely wild if he wins.
The first horse since Best Mate trying to do it 3 times. It's a good card. Before we look more into that, what about yesterday? Rachel Blackmore, Heir of Entitlement, Bob Ollinger win the Stairs. Means she's completed all the Big 5 championships, and that Farah a Grand National for the icing on the cake. What a performance by her. And Equine Star, Factor File, he was amazing. He's sort of what the best performance of the week, I think, isn't it?
I think so, because he actually kind of looked like he was in third gear, didn't he? Doubters, I was one of the doubters yesterday. I think really because of the price, I was looking for something with a little bit more value, but I thought he was very, very smart, and obviously be interesting to see where he goes. Obviously, this time next year, he may well be a contender for the Gold Cup. So yeah, he was very, very smart. Rachel really, I think, lifted it yesterday, didn't she? And what a tip from Susanna Ritchie. She gave her first winner. Bob Ollinger, she was so cool on him. I think she took a bit of a pull going into the last hurdle. Didn't want to hit the front, obviously, too soon. So that was really cool, really special. So pleased for Brian Hughes as well, and Doddy's the Great, because it's been nice. Obviously, this week we've had Lucinda Russell have a winner, Brian from up the north. So we've had kind of like a little bit of everything.
Yeah, Brian's 4th success.
Yeah, I was so pleased, because Brian has been given a bit of stick, I think, over the years for not coming down and riding at the festival, but it was nice that he got a chance to show what he can do when given the opportunity. So yeah, I was so pleased for Brian yesterday.
And he's on the real whacker, who obviously a previous festival winner. Small trainer Patrick Neville. He runs his track well. The King George, he ran well, looking like he's really ready for a proper test over the 3 Mile 2, what he's going to get today. Ground's absolutely crucial, this horse. Yes, he's got work to close the gap on Banbridge, but I think there's reasons why at 33-1 he can maybe run into a place.
When he won the Charlie Hall at Wetherby, and he kind of gets himself into a really nice routine, or into a nice rhythm, should we say, from the front end, and I think that'll be probably what Brian will be looking to do on him today, is to kind of jump off, find a nice rhythm on board him, and hopefully, you never know now, you know, we've seen it this week, you just literally never know. So yeah, I'll be rooting for obviously the real whacker, and for Yorkshire as well. So yeah, looking forward to it. And East India Dock is one that I really like in the first.
Yeah, you mentioned it's a blue ribbon event. It's all about the Cheltenham Gold Cup. It's a feature race of our sport all year in National Hunt, but it's a really good card. The Triumph of Willie Mullins saddles 11. But you got East India Dock for James Owen. He's been brilliant. Lulamba, obviously, for Nick.
Yeah, I completely understand Lulamba. I think was very impressive, should we say, at Ascot, but East India Dock, I think the times, the ratings, the jumping IQ backs up everything that he's shown so far this season, winning the trials. So, and I really like James Owen as a trainer. I think he's like a real trainer to watch out for this year, and it doesn't matter whether it's Arab racing, whether it's flat horses, National Hunt horses, he can do the job. So yeah, might get his first Cheltenham Festival winner today.
Fox Hunters, the conditionals get their chance to shine in the Martin Pipe, the County Hurdle as well. We're looking forward to bringing you every single race live once again here on Racing TV. We're going to delve a bit deeper. We're going to preview it all now with Gary. Let's see who he's joined by.
Niall, thank you very much indeed. Yes, many more from Niall and Adele throughout the morning. As you can see, I've been joined here paddock side by Dan Barber and James Millman. Guys, very good morning. Welcome along. James, come to you first of all. How's the week been? How have you found it so far over the first 3 days?
It's been an absolutely cracking week. You've got to enjoy the results for the West Country and me. Golden Ace winning the champion hurdle. Even though I was in the Jeremy Scott, Lorcan Williams camp, she's in the wrong race. She should be in the Mayor's hurdle, where she had a realistic chance, and it just shows you what racing can bring. So that's definitely the highlight, a race that you're probably never going to forget.
Absolutely. And more drama yesterday, Dan. Gordon Elliott looking for that first winner of the week. I thought he was going to have a 1-2 in the Stayers hurdle as Tipo and the Wall Park duked it out, turning in, and then all of a sudden Bob Ollinger appeared on the scene. What a moment for Rachel Blackmore, Henrietta Bromhead and the Rob Court team.
Yeah, every year, isn't it? I mean, whatever Henry's done between December, January, February just goes out the window, because he's shown time and time again now that it's metronomic. Horses are ready to go for the festival, and he's had an astounding week. I keep saying it about Gavin Cromwell as well, even though he's got just the one winner to show for it. I think he's run 20 so far the first 3 days. 13 have basically run to form according to Timeform, so they've all been bob on. And yeah, to see a horse like Bob Ollinger, and it was a similar in a losing course from Envile, and he was at his 7th festival. Bob Ollinger at his 4th? Now a 3-time winner at Cheltenham. So that was a great story. And I thought it shone a light on Rachel's talents as well. Not that it needs doing by now, but the ride in the first and Area of Entitlement was more about brawn and strength and perseverance to run down 6.5, whereas Bob Ollinger was all sort of finesse and craft, wasn't it? Just holding him together for as long as possible.
Very much so. And if there was a true wow performance yesterday, James, probably came from Fact to File in the Ryanair chase. I don't think there's any doubt he would have added real lustre to today's big one, but Connections will feel vindicated the route they took. What did you make of what he did?
Just letting him stride on at his rhythm, and the perfect scenario later on, say he couldn't actually make the run-in to start off with, so it just shows how quick they were going. And Galloping and Charm, we'll look back at him later, Paul Townend really rode him to great effect, but also to negative effect to Fact to File, because every time Mark Walsh had to take a pull over an island, over the 3 mile plus trip, it just put him in an inconvenience, whereas yesterday he got into that rhythm and he measured every fence with aplomb, and it was great to watch. Probably the best Ryanair performance I've seen for a while anyway. Yeah,
it really was something special. And Dan, looking ahead to today, obviously we're on the verge of history potentially with Galopin Des Champs, bidding to emulate the likes of Arkle and Bestmate with that 3rd Gold Cup triumph. Do you get the feeling maybe just in recent days the size of the task in front of him has got a little bit more difficult with, I know the way you're thinking, being thrown in there, and obviously Banbridge, a King George winner, can't be underestimated?
Yeah, maybe it was looking like something of a crowning rather than a race he's got to go out and win. I mean, he's done enough to scare off everything, hasn't he, to a large extent, particularly at Leopardstown. He's so formidable around there, but his record here, had he not fallen and left the race for Bob Ollinger in that Turners, would be unblemished as well. He probably is a few pounds better at Leopardstown, I think, when the ground is likely to be more testing as a rule, but he's still a relentless galloper of the type that you rarely see. As you mentioned, like this is historic stuff. It's not just only 4 horses have achieved it in the history of the race. So Cottage Rake, Arkle, you mentioned, Bestmate and Golden Miller, who won it 5 times. They're all spaced out. I mean, it doesn't really put into perspective just how big an achievement this could be, just because we're so used to Willie Mullins winning big races. This will be historic stuff, and you're right to say I think a real wild card has entered the picture in terms of I know the way you're thinking, but it's only to say he's a wild card now because his participation was in doubt. If he'd have lined up, if we'd been looking back a year from now when he won the Kimyo and then he followed up at Aintree, if we'd have been discussing this race and he'd have been second favourite for it, you'd have just nodded it through, wouldn't you? Of course he is. He's a progressive novice. He looks the most likely one to take his crown, and it's gone from McManus looking like he's got an unbelievably strong hand to looking like he had no hand at all, and now he is back in the mix with 2 potential outsiders. But I struggle to see Galopin getting beaten. Yeah,
today really is all about Galopin Days, but the supporting card obviously not too shabby either. Just maybe pick out 1 or 2 highlights. Cracking Triumph Hurdle to get us underway.
Yeah, East India Doc's a horse I've always loved since Wincanton. Hot Fuzz was back in 2nd on that occasion. He ran a cracker in the Fred Winter. He's been here twice, done the job. I didn't anticipate a loving from Willie Mullins taking part. Now, it may be because
most of whom we haven't even heard of.
We don't know what they're going to do over hurdles or what they can do. And Son of Blue Point is actually his shortest in the betting. Blue Lemons, Rachel Blackmore rides. Luamba, he could be very good. He was good at Ascot, but we've only seen him once, and I was quite surprised he didn't go for the Adonis and didn't get that extra experience of English hurdle. So East India Doc, for me, I think he's a proper old-fashioned Triumph individual, and he's actually taken part in an old-fashioned Triumph because you've got that big field full of inexperienced horses as well, so it could be an absolute cracker, that opener.
I think it might be Bill Gredley's birthday today as well, isn't it?
They were keen. All Mankind obviously goes for the Fox Hunters, and it was Burdett Road, possibly County. In the end they went for the champion, which again, like Golden Ace, was probably the right decision.
I wonder if Aberte Friendly could have made his hurdling debut today for the occasion as well.
Do you think it's going to be a lot of the usual suspects to the fore again today, Dan? Obviously Willie Mullins going to be in the mix. You've spoken about Gavin Cromwell there as well. What are you looking forward to?
The Gold Cup obviously primarily. I think the County's a great race. Must mention the reduced numbers, only 16 this year, which is pretty unheard of. Trying to speculate as to why that might be. I imagine it's down to the fact that you've now got to get the extra run into them, and Willie's not going to try and cram in 5 runs on a novice. The sort of horses like a Carnique was qualified, went for the Supreme instead. So we got a reduced field in that, but I think it's really competitive. And I do think Paul's picked the right one. And when you say that, it's with the added confidence that Paul's chosen Cargesi as well. I could just see I think she's really well in off 141. the form with Take No Chances at Ascot wasn't let down when she came third from a poor position in the mares race, and I like the idea of her getting into a bigger field and a strong pace and finally settling, because if she settled properly, I mean, it's not a million to one that she's a mid-150s mare. I think she's got that level of ability.
No, there's a huge engine in there, no question about that. So that's a little flavour of what we have to look forward to here on the final day of this year's festival. We'll be back with you shortly to preview the big one, the Boodles Cheltenham Gold Cup.
And here are the runners for the Cheltenham Gold Cup. Number 1 is Ahoy Senor. He's trained by Lucinda Russell. He's been disappointing on his last couple of starts, but he's had a wind operation. Number 2 is Banbridge, winner of the King George for the Joseph O'Brien team, stepping up in trip today. 3 is Corbett's Cross. He'll be suited by the trip, an inadequate trip at Ascot for him last time up. Number 4, it's Galopin Des Champs, trying to win this for the 3rd year in succession. He's rated 177. Number 5 is Gentleman's Game for Mouse Morris and Darragh O'Keefe. He was a decent 3rd here last time up, but he was pulled up in the Gold Cup last year. I know the way you're thinking, he was supplemented for this. He'll be suited by trip and conditions. He's rated 160. 7 is Monty's Star. He's a progressive chaser. He likes to race prominently. He's a really good jumper. He rated 160. Royal Pagaille off 163. He's trained by Venetia Williams. Charlie Deutsch is on board. He goes well at this track. So does the Real Whacker. He loves this place. He likes bowling along in front, and he's rated 159. Those are the runners. Let's have a look at the betting. And Galopin Des Champs dominates this market, as you might imagine. 9 of them go to post, and with Bet365, he's 8 to 15. Banbridge is 13 to 2. I know the way you're thinking. Is also 13 to 2. Monty Star is next in. He's 10 to 1, with Corbett's Cross in there at 16s. The Real Whacker, bit of a course specialist, he's 33 to 1. Ahoy Senor 40s. Gentleman's Game is 50s, and Royal Pagaille and Charlie Deutsch, the outsider, at 100 to 1. This race revolves around Galopin Des Champs. The place will erupt if he can land his 3rd Cheltenham Gold Cup. And, well, he's got absolutely every chance of doing so, you would have thought. And as we have a look at his win last year, it's frightening to think that now, on the evidence of what he's done this season, he might be even better than this, Gary.
He certainly doesn't look to have deteriorated, that's for sure, Angus. And here is his win in the big one 12 months ago. Jerry Colombe, in the end, is the one who follows him home. Dan, just reprise your thoughts on this performance and potentially how much more will he need today to make it 3 in a row?
Possibly no more. He possibly won't even have to match this. I think on the form book, Jerry Colombe is a more formidable rival, or would have been a more formidable rival than any of those he faces today, bar maybe the exception of Banbridge, who still has the doubt about him over the trip potentially that Jerry Colombe didn't have and Lon Press didn't really have. The good side to him is he wins a Gold Cup first time around where things probably didn't go as they wanted. They ride him a lot differently now, don't they? He got behind, his ability shone through, whereas now, if they didn't know already, that the way to ride him is to make use of his jumping and his stamina, and in a smaller field this time around as well. That's another potential positive.
It was his win at the Christmas Festival at Leopardstown. Of course, he was defeated in the John Durkin chase at Punchestown on a seasonal bow over a trip shorter than ideal. This was the Savills chase, and if there were doubters after Punchestown, James, I think a lot of them were silenced by this performance.
Most definitely. This is where he was back to his best, and the John Durkin really is his pre-season trial, isn't it? Gets him out, too short a trip, but it gets him back into the swing of things. And here was the day where, for me, everything went right for Factifile to beat him, if Factifile was ever going to beat him. And look at the end, Galopin Des Champs, that final 50 yards, he just pulls clear. And that was pretty devastating. He loves the extra 2 furlongs up the hill here at Cheltenham. And what I thought was eye-catching going back to the Gold Cup, 5 and behind him, none of them have made it back again. Jerry Colombe's obviously not been seen this season, but I think he takes it out of his rivals when he comes here to Cheltenham. Brave Man's Game has never been the same again, having been second to him in the Gold Cup, and he just keeps going back for more, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, it's just so hard to keep these horses right, and he keeps pitching up, doesn't he? Here's his win in the Irish Gold Cup last time, Dan. It wasn't quite a carbon copy of the Christmas race, but there were definitely echoes of it. Look back there in the quarter cap. I know the way you're thinking was the big eye catcher this day. Do you get the feeling he's been kind of gradually building to a big performance, and potentially today could be it?
Yeah, and I wouldn't. This probably been a bit of a phony war in the lead up to it as well. Is he a Grand National horse? Oh no, we won't enter him in the Grand National. Is he a Gold Cup? So actually we'll supplement him when it becomes clear that the field is weak. But he does finish with more to give. And easy to forget how good he was last season, that Kim Muir. Dropped right out the back by Derek O'Connor, and he's then gone and proved it at Grade 1 level at Aintree, and what was a really good renewal of the staying novice there. I suppose I pose a question back to you. Is there a horse in the last 20 years that could beat him around Leopardstown under those conditions? I was thinking about B4 Salmon, who had a huge engine, but whose jumping wasn't great, and it is a struggle to think of a horse who has the attributes that he's got, because his stamina is... He could stay 7 miles, couldn't he? I mean, he's never tired at the end of any of his races. He's a remarkable horse, and there's always a danger with him. Like Best Mate, we didn't see very often, but there was a story behind Hen Knight and Terry Biddlecombe, popular couple. Because Mullins is so dominant now, I think there is a case that it does get slightly overshadowed, and people are just used to it because of his strength in depth. But I mentioned earlier that the potential achievement of 3 Gold Cups that Al Boone Photo tried for the stable and failed to achieve is an extremely rare thing. As I mentioned, it's happened only 4 times previously.
And as James said, just the effort to get these horses back year after year and turn up for the Gold Cup. We're going to have a look at Banbridge's win in the King George. Joseph O'Brien already amongst the winners here this week. Well worth a shot, I think, James, isn't it? The field has cut up a little bit for it today, for all that there is some real quality in there with, I know the way you're thinking, coming in. How much more is Banbridge going to need today, and what about the extra journey?
The extra 2.5 furlongs up the hill, I think, is the big issue. The big plus for him, though, it's been a watered ground week rather than a heavy rain week. Obviously, 2 years ago, we didn't even see him here because the ground was considered too soft for him to run. So I think that's the big plus. They probably would have liked an old-fashioned Cheltenham Festival where the ground was generally good. It's still going to be hard work for him over the extra 2.5 furlongs. He saw it out well here. James Reevely gave Ville France a nicely timed ride out in front. He's done well to pick him up. I'm not sure how strong the race was. You've got Brave Man's Game, the real whacker, in behind. L'Homme Presse, are they as good as what they were 2 years ago, last year? Probably not. But he has finished it off pretty strongly. Against that, Kempton is his place. When he went for the 2.5 mile, I think it was Sivana Conti, he looked very good there in the January of the previous season. So that really suits him. Does Cheltenham suit him as much? Trip isn't going to suit him. I think he's vulnerable for the places, to be honest, especially if you ride him to win the Gold Cup. We see horses here that try and take on a gallop in the sharp, they fall apart up the hill, and that'd be my concern if you're going to back him even each way.
Thoughts on Banbridge, Dan? Any relevance in Ile France's heavy defeat yesterday?
Well, I've got to say, you don't have to dig very deep to find examples of horses who are electric around Kempton who never quite do it here. Silvinaco Conti, one man. It'd be good examples from a bit ago, and Ile France sort of proved the point yesterday. It is a different, it's not just the configuration of the course, the fact it's going the other way around. It's uphill and down dale. It's not a track about rhythm as much, particularly in a Gold Cup. I think James is spot on with the idea that at 13-2, if you were playing, if it was not the betting system we have in this country and it was just win and place, you'd be more inclined to back him win only than you would I Know the Way You're Thinking. But if you were backing one of those two, place only, as people will be doing today because they'll be looking to bet against a favourite each way, I don't think that's a contest. I think you'd much rather be with I Know the Way You're Thinking, because with Banbridge, I just think there's real blowout potential if the trip doesn't suit. If the fences around here don't suit, I know he came here and won a Martin Pipe, but it was a lifeless run whether the ground was in his favour or not last season in the Ryanair.
What about tactics, guys? We haven't spoken about the likes of Ahoy Senior, Royal Picard, the Real Whacker. They can all help force it along. How do we see the early skirmishes going? Well,
I think the way to ride Ahoy Senior is that as well. He's had a wind up. He's a horse who's a match for the second, third and fourth in at his very best, but we know the fence is getting in the way. We talk about race IQ. In terms of equine IQ, he'd be pretty low, I think, Ahoy Senior. He's not the brightest, is he? But he is a horse who, if they ride him the way they should do, I think, then he will be forcing a gallop. The Real Whacker will be involved in that. but they're no more than nuisance value really to Galopin Des Champs. He doesn't have to lead, he's just best ridden positively, so there may be an element where Paul thinks I'm happy to just sit third or fourth in this, as Mark Walsh was yesterday on Fact to File.
Okay, guys, final thoughts, James. Sum it up. It sounds like you're very much against Banbridge. Who do you think might follow Gallopin home today?
Monty Starr.
Monty
for
Starr.
me. I just think the way the Henry de Bromhead horses have improved coming to Cheltenham, which is generally always the case, he's run well here before. I like this run at the DRF. Stamina's still a slight concern with him, but I just think the way that the Bromhead horses are running, and he'd probably be ridden for a place as well, I think. And that might be key for those looking outside of Gallopin Des Champs for the betting without market.
He has had a light campaign as well, Monty Starr. And Dan, just sum it up for us.
Yeah, I think I know the way you think he'll finish second. And a bit like James said with being ridden for, but I think he'll be ridden in that style. The likes of Galopin Des Champs, if he's going head to head with a Hoy Seigneur and the real whacker, it's just not going to end well for them, is it? And a horse who's going to sit out the battle and close late, I thought was like to finish second. It might be close as well. I mean, he might get, I think his engine's there to get the gap down to a handful of lengths or so, and still don't think we've seen the best of him because it's been such a low-key season, and he absolutely blossomed this time last year. Yeah,
I would agree with that 100%, and I wonder will he head on to Aintree after today? Well, we'll see in due course. Those then are thoughts on the Cheltenham Gold Cup. Let's now hear from the man who trains the mighty Galopin Des Champs, Willie Mullins, in conversation with Danny Archer.
Willie, thanks very much for having us this morning. Galopin Des Champs, he looks an absolute picture. He's now building up for a third Gold Cup. How's he come out of the Dublin Racing Festival?
I'm very happy how he's come out. He came home, he went straight to his pot, drinking, eating, doing everything right. You know, he's a very laid-back customer, and he's been that way since the race.
And he was deeply impressive in the Irish Gold Cup and also at the Savills Chase. Even this year, his form, arguably taking it to a new level?
Yeah, I thought the Savills was... To me, the performance he put in the Savills was huge.
It is Galopin Des Champs holding off Fact to File. He's unbeatable over fences here at Leopardstown. Repeat Savills Chases for Paul Town, who's over the moon.
I wondered would it impact on him in the Irish Gold Cup, but he turned around and ran a tremendous race in the Irish Gold Cup. I don't think that he had to pull out the same reserve that he did at Christmas. And hopefully that will make it easier for him to recover from that race in time for the Gold Cup in Cheltenham.
And he now stands on the edge of emulating Arkle and Best Mate. What would it mean to you if he could win a third Cheltenham Gold Cup?
I mean, it's just extraordinary to think that we have an opportunity to do that. You know, to be up there in the same breath as, mentioning in the same breath as Best Mate or Arkle, that's just something that's once in a lifetime job.
And once again, it's time to catch up with John Pullen Clark, of course, and get the all-important going details. And we're walking up fresh ground here. We'll have a look at it in a second. But you're happy, good to soft all-round, you're calling it?
Yes, we are, yeah. So we put the covers down, frost covers down last night. Frost was forecast, did materialise. We got down as low as -3.5 at a lowest point, and averaged around -2 for a good deal of the night. So the frost covers did their job. It was never really concerned about racing. It was more about having an early indication that we were fine, which that has done. And we've taken the covers off this morning and happy that we've retained the moisture and good to soft again.
So we're looking where they raced yesterday.
Yeah.
We've got about 5-6 yards of fresh ground, a little bit more down the back straight. So jockey position early to be on this ground, surely, obviously it's the inside line, but that fresh strip of ground.
Yeah, we try and save this all season. You know, it's very much about trying to give as much fresh ground for today as possible. So during the season we'll put fence extensions on and race out wider. Yeah. So where we raced yesterday, we haven't raced on since December. So that's had a little bit of time to recover. And then we open up this inside section for today.
So after today, the April meeting, the Hunter Chasing meeting, this will not be raced on?
No. We'll continue racing on it till the end of the season,
right.
Because it, in a bizarre way, it actually does it a little bit of good to open it up occasionally. Right. And if we don't, it does ride a little bit tighter than the rest. So we will race on it in April and for the Hunter Chase meeting as well.
So basically fresh ground. You envisage riding very similar to yesterday?
Yeah, it might just be a fraction tighter on the chase course, particularly on this fresh strip, but still, very much within the good to soft range. But maybe just a little bit tighter. We're at the end of the week. We put plenty of moisture on last weekend, knowing that we got to try and get to this point. We had that little bit of rain on Monday evening. Yeah. We had the snow on Wednesday morning, which has all helped keep the moisture in. Going stick reading has come out at 5.9. Today we were 5.4 yesterday. That will a little bit of that will be because we've only just taken the covers off as well. So as we warm up during the day, we should get to sort of 8-9 degrees. It'll sort of relax a little bit, but envisage it being pretty similar to the rest of the week, really.
So it still feels cold. It's obviously overcast. You're saying 8-9 degrees. It's not going to dry out, is it?
No, definitely not. No, that's been the benefit of the forecast this week has been. It's pretty consistent temperature daytime temperatures this week at around 8 degrees. So we've known that we weren't going to dry back too much during the week, which has obviously helped and meant that we've not had to jump in with any irrigation, during the week.
Great racing, isn't it? Obviously, Galloping the Champs, it'd be great for racing if he could win, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. No, we've seen some fantastic racing all week. Great stories throughout the week, and this would just top it off with another great story. To see him do it. Perhaps not his favoured ground. Which makes it even more of a challenge. So if he does achieve it, it'll be a huge achievement, having achieved it on ground that he probably wouldn't prefer.
And to have a King George winner, previous festival, 3-4 previous festival winners.
Yeah, it's a great great race and great supporting card as well. We've been delighted this week with field sizes and the competitiveness of the racing. We set out with the changes that we made to try and achieve that, and whilst it's early days, it's only one festival. It looks as if it's had some impact.
National chase, cross country, definitely.
Yeah, definitely, and yesterday's 2.5 mile, novice handicap as well. Full field there as well. So pleased with how it's gone. And looking forward to another really good day today.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for taking your time out all during the week, and wish you best of luck for the fourth, maybe the most important day.
Thank you very much.
Yes, many thanks to John for the going update ahead of the final day. As you can see, I've been joined by Pat Cooney from Bet365. Pat, you're very welcome. How's the week been for you so far on a personal and professional level?
Well, personally, there's not been much in it. All systems go for today, of course, though. But as for the company, unusually for us, we had a really, really good day one. Day two was fine as well. Day three yesterday, about level, really. Factifile was the key horse that saved the punters. But so we're in front going to the final day, which is unusual for us historically. Normally the fight back begins with the races like the Albert Bartlett, which we normally get a 20-1 chance in. So we're in front, but this is Cheltenham, anything goes. So we won't be parking the bus. It's a pretty wild day turnover-wise.
Let's hope that's going to change today. No offence, Pat, of course. The Boodles Cheltenham Gold Cup then is the feature event. Is there any opposition to Galloping des Champs, or have punters kind of been sticking him into Accas and trebles, if you like?
Yeah, not really. We're currently 8-15, and I think he's just got that kind of makeup where bookmakers don't really want to get too stuck into him, and punters think he's the most likely winner. The interesting angle really is from the each way point of view. If you accept that Banbridge is probably the second best horse in the race, maybe, if he doesn't get the trip, he's not going to be in the first three, is he? So lots of horses being backed each way at prices, and we were saying just before we went in, Ahoy Senior has been popular at 50. Wouldn't be on my radar, but he's been clipped into 40-1. So those horses on the bottom of the pack there, they're proven to be the each-way horses of the race. So we go into the race in pretty good shape, anti-post-wise and day of race, and it's not really a race that's going to be that crucial to how the figures go on the day. That's the likes of the Triumph Hurdle. There's much more bigger liabilities than that one.
And I know you're betting without the favourite as well. Yeah. I guess many punters will be looking for something maybe that hunts around to try and pick up the pieces late on in that particular market.
Exactly right. I think that's why Banbridge has been on the drift so much. But we can all see him winning, and he does look a fair price. But he has to prove he gets the trip. And like that, if you're betting each way first three, you are looking for those who get the 3 1/4 very, very well. And the likes of the Manella horse and so forth, they're going to be very much to the fore as well. So lots of angles to the race as well. But from our point of view, as lovers of horse racing, would love the favourites to win. We've only happened 4 times, hasn't it? So let him win, and we can win on the other races.
Fair play. Okay, and one of those could well be the Triumph Hurdle. We've got a big field for that this year. Willie Mullins running a lot of unknown quantities in it, Pat. Who do you think is going to go off favourite, East India, Doc, or Lulamba?
Yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? You get 18 runners. We had a meeting last week in the office thinking, could there be 7 or 8 runners in it, and how would we bet on the race? But to get 18, that means there's 17 in the race taking on East India, Doc, and he's sure to go a favourite. He has all the speed figures backing him up as well. But I'm sure something will take him on early, and it might be a hard test for him. But you look at the front 2 in the market, what's that, 9 to 4 on coupled, we get the other 16, that quite appeals to us. So, as I say, we'll not be parking the bus here all day. We're going to be taking our chances. That being said, they do look to better than normal Triumph Hurdle type winners, don't they? And, of course, Hello Neighbours there, unbeaten as well. So, yeah, it's a key one for us. I think you'd have to say, at things stand at the moment, East India Doc features in more bets than any other horse on the card today.
It is a really good race, that one. And you mentioned the Albert Bartlett as well, Pat. Open look to that this year. Do you reckon you will get another Skinner there?
Well, we normally do, don't we? So what you tend to get is the sexy horses with the unbeaten profile, the likely race types. But it tends to be won by the sloggers who've had half a dozen runs and been beaten several times. So it's unbelievably, it's one of the top 10 turnover races we have in horse racing, be it flat or jump. So it's been a kind race to us in the past, so looking forward to that again. But as I say, this is Cheltenham, anything's possible today.
Lots of other good races on the card. We won't go through them all, but if all else fails for punters today, are they going to try and fire themselves out of trouble on this Kopek, to me, the big dark horse in the last?
It seems that way, doesn't it? There's others in the race that have been there's been money for. Gordon Elliott's horse has been money around for. But who knows with this horse? It looks, how you get a mark that he's got remains a complete mystery to me. If it had another £10 on his back, it'd still be favourite for the race. So how he goes in the market, north or south, depends on what Dino Blue, East India and Gallopin do. If they all get chinned and the bookmakers are well in front, I think they'll just sit on the lead for that one. But it's going to be fascinating to see how he goes in the market and the race. So it'll be a good end to the card anyway.
Very much so. I think the festival could well finish with a bang this year. Pat, thanks so much. Pat Cooney there from Bet365 with the betting update ahead of the final day. You heard Pat saying there, not much love for Banbridge currently in the Gold Cup market. Let's hear what his trainer makes of his chances. Joseph O'Brien be speaking to Don McLean.
I'm talking about Banbridge for a second. He's the Martin Pipe Hurdle winner. Did you think then, at the time, that Banbridge had the potential to morph into the horse that he's become?
His first run for us was a bit disappointing, but he then gradually started to progress. And I remember Ronnie saying to me that, you know, whatever he did hurling, that they were sure he was going to be better when he jumped fences. And even though I think he ran in 3-pointed points and didn't win one, he was always a very natural jumper. And he ended up being a very nice novice hurler, like you say, winning the Martin Pipe. But then he came back chasing the following season, and he took his form to a new level.
And the Martin Pipe Hurdle, like, it's a handicap, but it's been a springboard for lots of top class chasers of the future. Like, what is it about the race, or do you think there's anything about it?
It really is a springboard for nice horses to progress into their chasing careers. But I just think the timing of it in the spring, you know, a novice hurler that maybe things haven't gone absolutely right for him in the winter time gets a bit of nice ground and is getting an opportunity to show some of the talent that they have. So Banbridge had actually had plenty of runs before the Martin Pipe. He had come right through the summer and then ended up, you know, winning the Martin Pipe, and he went to Aintree a couple of weeks later and things didn't go well for him, but it was a big ask to come back that soon. But he then obviously had his holidays and went chasing after that and came back, and, you know, he won the nice novice in Cheltenham and went on from there.
You dropped him down in trip for the Arkle trial at Cheltenham at the November meeting, as you say, but obviously you thought that he had pace as well.
He's not the most extravagant jumper in the world to watch, but touch wood, he was very quick from A to B, and his jumping in a way made him quicker, and that allowed us to come back to 2 miles. And he put up a very good performance that day at the November meeting in Cheltenham, and really we went there looking for ground as much as anything, because it's always been evident that he's at his best on a nicer surface. And you know, he came back and was good in Aintree, and I have to say he's been a fantastic horse, really, and he's very seldom had any off days.
And he had the pace as well to win the Champion Chase at Punches, and he probably needed every yard of the trip to just get Captain Guinness, but to win a Champion Chase at Punchestown on kind of spring ground. Obviously, that's a pacey horse who can do that.
But yeah, that just shows the pace that he has, and then he came back this year, and even the season it even took his form to a new level again in Kempton.
The King George was obviously a massive race to win, but that had been on your radar and Ronnie Bartlett's radar for a little while, I think. Why was that, like, to step up to 3 miles then for a horse who had the pace to win a 2-mile champion chase at Punchestown?
Yeah, and in fact, even in the parade ring after the race in Punchestown, Ronnie said that we're aiming for the King George, and I think he might have had a chat with AP who was keen to say that he thought he could be a King George horse as well. He got a fantastic ride from Paul Townend on the day, and whatever way you look at it, it was a great performance from the horse and the career best.
Of course, Ile France had a big break on the field from a long way out. Like, were you kind of just hoping and thinking that he was going to get there?
There was very little anyone could do about the lead that Le Francais had got, and turning into the straight, I thought watching the race that it was going to be tough to make up the ground, but the further into the straight they got, the more it looked like we were going to at least give him a run for his money, and I think he made a mistake at maybe the second last or the last, and that really that really put Banbridge into the mix. I've watched the King George every year for as long as I can remember. I was actually terribly excited even just to be getting on the plane to go to Kempton for the day to have a run around the race, and but we did feel like we were in the mix.
I suppose it's a measure of his versatility that he's entered in the champion chase, the Ryanair chase, and the Gold Cup as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and to be quite honest, you could make a good case for running him in any of the 3 races. So he is. It's a measure of his versatility, but it's also a measure of the class of a horse that he is, because, like, I'm sure Galopin Des Champs or any of a lot of those top class 3-mile chasers, you can drop them down in distance as well, and they can be effective. So I think it's a measure of the class and versatility of the horse.
And it's an extra 2.5 furlongs, of course, in the Gold Cup.
I'm quite hopeful that the distance would be fine for him. He got to the line very well in Kempton, and I'd be more worried about the conditions underfoot than the extra few furlongs.
Yeah, and ground conditions they are important.
Yeah, they're important to him. He doesn't have to have a quick ground, but we'd prefer. We'd love to have good to soft ground. That I think everyone would love to have good to soft ground for the week, but for Banbridge in particular, it'd be lovely if we had good to soft ground.
Joseph O'Brien hoping for Gold Cup glory with Banbridge later on this afternoon. He's already managed that horse's career brilliantly. Jockey changes this afternoon. There's no Sam Ewing today, so let's just detail what's happening to his mounts. And the beneficiary is Danny Gilligan. 2 o'clock he rides number 3, Field Dudery. 2:40 number 9, She Could Be Anything. And the 3:20 he's on Ballybow. That's number 2. We wish Sam Ewing well. Danny Gilligan taking those mounts this afternoon. Now let's have a look at the Timeform race of the day. Oh, no prizes for guessing what the Timeform race of the day is today. The 4 o'clock at Cheltenham, the Boodles Cheltenham Gold Cup. Let's have a look at the Timeform ratings. Galopin Des Champs right up there. These are adjusted ratings, 190, 181 for Banbridge. Wow, he's got a lot to find. If he doesn't stay, then he's got an awful lot to make up. I know the way you're thinking he will stay. Timeform are pretty positive about him staying 3.5 miles plus. It's what they say in their write-up about him. They say he'll actually be suited by that sort of trip. And he was supplemented for this, and he's a horse in focus, a Timeform horse in focus, with a plus. Corbett's Cross, 174. Royal Pagaille, 173. Gentleman's Game, 172. Monty Star, 170 with the real whacker. Ahoy Senor, on the back of being pulled up on his last couple of starts, they can't really give him a rating. This race is all about Galopin Des Champs, trying to win this race for the 3rd time. He's a Timeform horse in focus. He gets a tick for this course because he goes so well here. This is him winning last year. He's had a very good season, hasn't he? He was beaten on his return over an inadequate trip. That was in the John Durham. But then he went to Leopardstown in December and won the Savills. And then in February, he took the Paddy Power Irish Gold Cup. And you could argue that his jumping is better than ever. And he was absolutely brilliant in the Irish Gold Cup last time up. How's the race going to be run? He will be up there, I think. He'll be pretty prominent throughout the race. I think he wants daylight as well. He likes to be away from other horses. I think when he won his first Cheltenham Gold Cup, he was in amongst horses and didn't jump well at all. Paul Tannen pulled him wide, and then he jumped really well. So he's going to be up there early on. Timeform believe that the race is going to be run at an even gallop, and they say in their specific pace hint that Galopin will be a popular selection and shouldn't be concerned by any particular pace scenario. So clearly they're very positive about Galopin Des Champs. He is their selection. They think Banbridge will fill out second place. He's second top in the ratings. And another way you're thinking will round out third spot in the Boodles Cheltenham Gold Cup this afternoon. That is the Timeform race of the day.
Mark your car. Proudly sponsored by Timeform.
At Betfair, we're here for those who seek a different approach to the Cheltenham Festival. Only a third of races were won by favourites last year. So seeing front-runners in outsiders and knowing when to go against the grain can make all the difference. Get a completely free bet available every day this Cheltenham on any racing multi. Betfair. Play different.
Mark your car. Proudly sponsored by Timeform.
Short price favourite will oblige on Hurdle's debut.
Nice starting point, hopefully one we can build on.
Has gone 10 lengths clear in no time and is powering up the Cheltenham Hill. This is going to be impressive from East India Dock.
East India Dock now 6 or 7 lengths clear. Sam Tristan-Davies on East India Dock will win the JCB Triumph Trial.
He's going to come back here in March, fingers crossed, with a huge chance.
Bring on Friday of March.
The James Owen trained East India Dock has taken very well to the hurdling game. He's been impressive in all of his starts to date, particularly in his last two here at Cheltenham. Sam Tristan-Davies will be on board, and he is towards the fore of the market, along with Lou Lamba, who won at Ascot on his debut for Nicky Henderson. 13-8 with Bet365 East India Dock. Lou Lamba's 2-1. Hello Neighbour, he's a 5-1 shot. Blue Lemon's 14-1, and Lady Vega Allen 14s. 20's Gibbs Island, and Mondo Man is a 20-1 shot as well. Larzak's 33s, along with Willie de Hoy. He's got very good race IQ jump index, Willie de Hoy. He might run quite well. 50s and bigger the rest. OK, let's have a look at East India Dock through the prism of all of the race IQ data that we have been using this week at Cheltenham. It's been very helpful in finding winners and finding those that don't jump particularly well as well. This horse does jump well. He was very good at the November meeting at Cheltenham, but we're going to have a look at Trials Day this year when he made every yard of the running. We will hurdle hop him, so we'll just take him through all of the hurdles. I'll give you the jump index that he achieves at every single hurdle. Remember, 7 is an average jump, above that's good. The scale 0 to 10, so he's 7.9 at the first hurdle. He dictated quite a steady gallop in the early part of this race. He's good here, look at that, 8.3, flies his hurdle. They went 14.67, 14.07, 14.37, steadied it then, 15.28 and a 17.06 furlong down the back. You may ask what the jump index measures. Well, it measures efficiency and speed, alacrity over the hurdle, and it's looking at what a horse can achieve 30 metres before a hurdle and 30 metres after. How fast they get over the hurdle, how efficiently they get over it. 7.8 for hurdle 5. He's really good here, and he's backing up what he did at the November meeting, where he scored an 8.9 overall for all of his hurdles at the November meeting, and he's on his way to something similar here, a 7.5, whilst they still go quite steady on the lead. Now they're quickening down the hill, and he's got speed. 8.5 he jumps here, and suddenly he's gone from 15-second furlongs to a 13.57. Remember, he was a strong stayer on the flat. He stayed 2 miles, a mid-80s flat horse, who stayed a strongly run 2 miles, but he's got speed as indicated by these sectionals, left-hand side of your screen, 13.57, a 13.58. He's got plenty of them in trouble in behind, and he picks up again now up the home straight, 13.55. He's getting quicker, and his jumping has kept him out in front, and nothing has been able to live with him through this race. Yes, he got his own way out in front a little bit, but arguably he might be better if he gets a little bit of a lead. 13.73 there, 7.7 out of 10 is okay, better than average. And then he clears away. This is an impressive furlong, I think. 14.65, often up the hill. You'll see 15, 16, 17 when horses are getting tired. Not him, 14.65. He has routed them last time out. Now, I think there's more to come from him because he had to do his own work there. He made the running. I know he got an easy lead early on, but he might be better with getting a bit of a lead. This is a visualisation of those sectionals. So we'll start on the left-hand side of the screen. When the line goes up, he's getting slower. When the line goes down, he's getting faster. And you can see that he steadied the pace early on, right to that peak, around about 17-second furlong that I mentioned down the back. Then he starts to get a bit quicker, it levels out, and then just look where he picks up and shows sustained speed. From the mile, 3 furlongs, right to 2 miles, those 5 furlongs, he showed sustained speed as illustrated by the sectionals that we put on the screen. Then he's a little bit tired inside that final furlong as the line goes up towards the end. But for a horse who stayed well on the flat, he's got plenty of speed and he jumps particularly well. He got an 8.5 jump index for that whole round of jumping, courtesy of Race IQ at Cheltenham. And if you look at Lulamba's figure at Ascot, Lulamba showed loads of speed, fired 3 sub-14-second furlongs, but Lulamba's jumping is nowhere near as good as East India Doc's, 6.7 for Lulamba at Ascot. And it might be that difference that wins the day for East India Doc in the Triumph Hurdle today. Let's get the boys' view on course.
Really looking forward to this one, Angus. It has the makings of a cracking contest, this JCB Triumph Hurdle, and, well, something's got to give, doesn't it? The top 3 in the market, unbeaten in 7 starts between them. Hello Neighbour, obviously the big hope for Ireland. We'll come to him in just a second, but we have to start down with East India Doc. Angus has gone through some of the figures there and the impression that he's made in those 3 starts over flights so far. Is there anything not to like about him?
Not really, no. Is it $1 million to 1? I thought this yesterday really was 6.5. Is it? And horses like that. Is it $1 million to 1 that we're discussing here in terms of a champion hurdle next season? The old lossy mouth discussion. Is it $1 million to 1 we're discussing East India Doc on those terms in 12 months' time? Because he's a very, very good quality flat horse, 90 odd, and has taken to hurdling so well. Now, first time up at when James at Wincanton, it was a 4-length success. He's put 18 and 10 on fairly useful juvenile hurdlers since at this track. And as we were watching the great data and Angus's run through his last performance here, just the fluency of his jumping, how quick he is from A to B. Maybe Lulamba's a better prospect, and maybe in a year's time one will be rated a fair bit higher than the other. But in terms of a Triumph Hurdle, and the attributes normally required to win it without a freak like a Sagino, say, you've got a horse here who's already got a level of form that would have him winning several Triumph Hurdles based on what he's done already. And I'm disinclined to view what Stencil did negatively. I thought he sat too close to the pace. I don't think that's some huge knock on his form in any case. Yeah, that was his win obviously here last time. He's proven over the course and distance as well. James, we were just saying off air there before they came to us, hard to believe that earlier on in the season James Owen thought he might have a better horse in Lavender Hill Mob. This fella, I think, has really taken him by surprise, isn't he?
Yeah, he's remarkable. He improved a lot from the flat as well. He started off in the 60s, ended up in the 90s. That Wincanton ran hot fuzz. He certainly boosted the form when finishing 4th in the Fred Winter. And those in behind weren't disgraced in the Fred Winter. For me, I like the way he's uncomplicated. Angus was mentioning he might be better getting a lead if he ends up making the running and stays out of trouble, because we have got a loving from Willie Mullins' team, and a lot of those haven't actually shown much. We don't know how they're going to jump. Some of them are making their debut in public today. So all in all, it could be a bit of an old-fashioned Triumph Hurdle. Also, being near the front end is going to keep you out of trouble. He's set the standard to suggest that he's already good enough to win a Triumph Hurdle. how good is Luamba? And I think not running any Adonis, that might be costly as regards to lack of experience.
Let's have a look at some Irish form then. Hello Neighbour is seen as the number one from my side of the Irish scene. I think that's right based on what we've seen of him. He's unbeaten in 4, 2 on the flat and 2 over hurdles. Thrown in at the deep end for his debut in a graded race at Leopardstown, won that, and this is his win in the Grade 1 at the Dublin Racing Festival last time out. And James, we were just talking earlier on, I think maybe there are shades of the yellow clay here on Wednesday, and that for a long time it's been pitched as a match between Luamba and Hello Doc. I think that might just be underestimating this guy, and a stronger run race will suit him.
Here is how far is Hello Neighbour going to win by. He's travelling so much better than the opposition. I don't think he does a great deal once he hits the front. He's got the hood on, but he's relaxed better on his second start than what he did in his debut over hurdles. On the flat, he didn't particularly disappear from the opposition in his 2 wins, the Son of Harzand. My concern is they're all in a little bit of a heap. The Irish juveniles this time around, normally you're coming here with such a strong hand. The strength and depth doesn't appear to be there, but it may be a stronger run race today. Horses like East India Doc dragging him into the race. I think he's going to produce a much bigger figure. Whether it's good enough to beat East India Doc, I'm not sure personally.
I'd imagine it's going to be a kid glove ride on Hello Neighbour to try and deliver him late. And Dan, maybe get your thoughts on Hello Neighbour, and we're also going to have a look at Gibbs Island in just a second, an ex-Irish flat horse who has joined Tom Lacey and hasn't done an awful lot wrong over her. So
no, he's been great. He's not very big. Luamba would tower over him if they're walking around in the paddock beforehand, but he's got an engine, hasn't he? And he's taken well in terms of jumping. He's nimble. This is the Haydock race. It's moot as to what sort of trial in inverted commas this has proven for the Triumph. He hasn't proven much of one at all, the Victor Ladorum, in recent times, but it was a well-run race and he wins it decisively ultimately, and I think his strength at the finish is the most impressive aspect. Not as flashy and not as stylish as Hello Neighbour, say, who, as we've just seen on the VT, absolutely tanks through his races. And going back to him, I thought Lady Vega Allen had a chance to reverse form, because from what we'd seen the first time when it was shrouded in mist, she disappeared from view some way back and at the line was nearly collaring him. That shows to me the improvement he'd made from first run to second. He feels a bit old school Triumph horse to me, Gibbs Island, grizzled flat campaign to some extent. What would he be, mid-70s or something on the level, but a bit like we discussed with East India Doc, was getting a bit better, and he's taken very well to hurdling despite his lack of stature. But in form terms, I think that is quite a significant gap between what he's achieved in the 2 wins today and what East India Doc can boast for sure.
Luamba, of course, was all the talk before he made his debut for Nicky Henderson at Ascot. He duly delivered the goods that day. What's your feeling about him, guys?
I feel like there's an element of Sergino being baked into his price, just an assumption that because he's the same connections, well, he must be another Sergino. I mean, how many Serginos come around? One every 3 or 4 years, a horse of that level of excitement and ability and flashiness. So I do think that there's an element of him potentially being overbet. As I mentioned a second ago, if you were to wind forward in 12 months, who's the horse you're more excited about in terms of what they could go on to achieve? It possibly would be Luamba, but winning the war doesn't mean you're going to win every battle along the way, and East India Doc feels more like an Our Connor, more tried and trusted and here and now to potentially win a Triumph. And if Luamba looms up to him and goes past him, here we are dealing with a very good prospect, because I think he sets a very high standard.
And James, you mentioned about Willie Mullins, 11 runners in the Triumph Hurdle. I think 5 of them making their debut for him today. It just adds an extra dimension, doesn't it? We've got a huge field. It's hard to know what to expect from those horses, I guess, isn't it?
They've all gone through the Willie Mullins regime as well, so the chances are one of them might emerge to be quite good. The fact that the Blue Point in Blue Lemons is actually his joint shortest priced. Miler for Richard Hannon, his stamina's going to be a bit of a concern. It just appears to be not a great crop for the juveniles at the Mullins team, but ones that we don't know nothing about. Harry Cobden's riding Son of Golden On, too bossy for us, who cost £330,000. He could be one that could take to hurdling. So you've got a few unknowns, but I just felt East India Doc, I just love the fact that his attitude and he's so convincing.
Yeah, the 3 that haven't run over hurdles at all, 730 grand they cost between the 3 of them. They are the Gredley types, aren't they? Those properly useful flat horses. It may be a bit chaotic because there's a lot of inexperience on show, but it doesn't necessarily bode well for other trainers if Willie has 11 horses in a Triumph, all with good pedigrees, 3 of them with high quality flat form. who will be just 4 and 5 year olds next season.
Some of these are getting their eye in, I think,
exactly,
aren't they? And might well be back here in 12 months' time running a Supreme Novice Hurdle. There we have it then, that's the scene set for you. Ahead of the JCB Triumph Hurdle, we're going back to Niall.
We got underway with the JCB Triumph Hurdle. While everybody's talking about East India Dock and Lulamba, Willie Mullins got 11 in it. What about Gibbs Island for Tom Lacey? And Race Share, Lucy Delaney joins us from it. Excited?
Beyond excited. It's unreal to have a horse here in only our 3rd year of having syndicates. It's fantastic.
And he's earned his stripes, hasn't he? He was a good horse in the flat rate at mid-80s.
Yeah.
With Andy Oliver, so 2 stars to Ludlow, and Haydock last time out on good to soft ground. He was really good.
100%. I mean, he was really impressive at Haydock. You know, you watch the race back, he did nothing wrong. We think he's already a better horse over hurdles than he was on the flat. And Tom Lacey's absolutely delighted with his prep. Like, it's gone really well.
And Tom had a quiet midwinter, but his horse are really running well into the spring now.
Yeah, they've really come to form. You know, he just says it's so rare that everything goes to plan with a horse, but for Gibbs it actually really has. And look, if he improves as much as he did from Sedgefield to Haydock again here, we think he's got a great each-way chance.
And he was a little bit keen early at Haydock, but a big field, a strong gallop, I think will suit.
Yeah, look, the more runners the better, we think, for us. You like a big field, a strong pace. I mean, we've 11